What's up, YouTube? It's me, it's your boy D, and I'm back here with another one. And tonight, I'm here to continue on with my Twisted Toons series franchise, introducing you guys to the squads, basically. And today, we're here to talk about an interesting pair. I'm talking about the GTA crew, alright? So without further ado, ain't nothing to it but to do it, so let's dive in. What's up, YouTube? I am back. Alright, and so, if you've been following along with me whenever I've been able to cover, my little series, project, franchise, whatever you want to call it, Twisted Toons. The past couple videos I've been talking about the teams, the main teams, the main characters of the teams, and the everybody in them. Well, starting with this video and moving forward, what I'm gonna be talking about is they're not exactly teams. What they are is basically either just gangs that hang together, crews that hang together, whatever the case may be. All right, the three main teams, Super Mario, Bart Simpson, Donkey Kong, those were the ones that are the actual, criminal organizations or whatever you want to call them. Everything else that I'm about to talk about from this point on, yeah, they do their crimes, but they're not necessarily organizations, more so just gangs, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Starting off with this one right here. This little group right here is basically a group of vigilantes that just are not necessarily their own gang, their own team, but they all hang together, associate together. And that's what they are, all right? And I'm talking about the GTA squad, the Grand Theft Auto squad. And so without further ado, let me not even waste no time like I normally do. Let's move on to the first character, all right? Let's get
Tommy Vercetti.
Tommy Vercetti, all right. Now, Tommy Vercetti, for those of you that don't know, Tommy Vercetti is a character from the video game Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Now, his inclusion within the series, in the franchise, was the idea of my boy Josh, all right? Around the time we were creating this thing, we had done been a couple seasons in by then, all right? So basically, Grand Theft Auto Vice City was the game that was the hottest game that had just come out around that time, all right? So as we were writing this franchise or whatever, I guess Josh liked that game so much that he came up with the idea to draw the character Tommy Vercetti from that video game and include him into our franchise. And that is where the character Tommy Vercetti comes from. Now, his role within the franchise, Tommy Vercetti is pretty much himself on our show. He is the vigilante anti-hero. He comes across, he starts as a loner, basically. He starts off on our franchise as a loner that does basically the exact same thing that he does on the franchise that he originally comes from, Grand Theft Auto. He comes in and wrecks shit, all right? He steals cars, he blows shit up. His debut episode was episode 111. I remember that. And the title of that episode was Tommy Vercetti. And it was his introduction into the franchise. And he was brought on basically to become one of the main characters of the show. And he starts off going right at the main characters, Tommy Vercetti's role within the show is he is the rival to all three of the top main characters. He's got beef with Mario, very intense. He's got beef with Bart Simpson, very intense. As a matter of fact, he's one of the only people on the franchise that can outsmart Bart Simpson, all right? And he has beef with Donkey Kong also. And as a matter of fact, Tommy Vercetti is the one that ultimately took out Donkey Kong. On our series, Tommy Vercetti is the guy that kills Donkey Kong and ultimately takes his place as the third top character of the franchise. You know, when Josh came up with that idea to bring him in, one of the first things he did was had him made a huge impact right off the gate and killed one of the main characters, which I wasn't a fan of, but I went with it. So with that being said, Tommy Vercetti is actually the third main character on the show once Donkey Kong meets his demise, basically. His personality is, like I said, he is how he is on the game. He's just within our universe now. And he makes an immediate impact from the moment he steps onto the scene, onto the episode that's titled after him, you know. Like I said, he kills Donkey Kong, all right? He blows up Bart Simpson's mansion, you know what I'm saying? He floods out Super Mario's headquarters, you feel me? He steals Luigi's car. He does a lot of things to a lot of these main characters, which makes him a huge threat and a huge enemy. And, there's not much you can say about him other than he's himself, and he's mainly a loner in the beginning. There's a lot of episodes written around him. He's, like I said, he's got his own personal episode written about him. And, he has a lot of character development, as I always say, because he's one of the main characters, all right? And that's pretty much Tommy Vercetti. He wrecks shit. Like, that's his main goal. And with that being said, we're going to move on right along to the next character, all right? So let's...
Ariel.
Now, Ariel is she's a little bit unique of a character because she's one of those characters that I call a late add-on, like I say with some of the other ones. Why I say that is, Ariel actually was written into the franchise originally. There's a photo that I have somewhere of Ariel basically being introduced into the Twisted Toons franchise. However, I had never actually written an episode about her or even introducing her. I just have the photo. Because I just didn't have a way to introduce Ariel. So that's why I call her a late addition, because what would have happened was, and why I got her as a part of this little, crew, is because basically what I would have done is Ariel's role on the show, she would basically be Tommy Vercetti's woman. As like Mario is with Rapunzel, as Bart is with Pocahontas, as Donkey Kong is with Princess Peach, Ariel would be Tommy Vercetti's woman. And I just felt like they looked good together. I thought it was a good visual, so that's why I put them together. And her role basically would be his ride or die. Whatever he need done, she got it. You know what I'm saying? Hold him down. And, she's kind of a gangster version of Ariel. She's Ariel, but she's a hood girl, basically. And her role is just his woman. I never wrote nothing for her, but that's what I would have had her as. And obviously would be the person that, she's the only person I had in mind for Tommy Vercetti to be with. Because out of all the women on the show, Ariel's obviously one of the hottest Disney princesses, so I thought it would be cool to hook her up with one of the coolest guys from one of the coolest video games, Grand Theft Auto. And that's pretty much really the only thing I can really say about that character, Ariel, because I never wrote nothing for her, but she would be, his right-hand, I guess, woman. And she ended up would be his wife, having kids with him. All that types of jazz like that. So I'm sorry I don't have much to say. But that would pretty much be her role, which is similar to a lot of the other female characters who are with the main characters on the show. They hold the fort down for their guys. And that's pretty much Ariel, all right? So I'm about to mess up again. So with that being said, let's move on to the next character, all right?
Franklin.
Now, I know. So I know this character right here does not make sense at all, and you probably wondering why in the hell is Franklin the Turtle even involved with somebody like Tommy Vercetti, or even involved in this crew right here. All right, now I'll take credit for this one, okay? Franklin, the addition of Franklin on the show and into this crew was my idea, and here's why, okay? Tommy Vercetti is such a serious character that I felt like we needed somebody to be like the comic relief. You know, first of all, the character was a loner, so what I wanted to do was put somebody with him that would be annoying, but then he would end up getting used to. So Franklin was just chosen for that reason, and the reason being is because Franklin was already written into the franchise as basically one of those wannabe tough guys. Like, he's one of those he's a punk for real, but wants to prove his worth that he's tough, and nobody would ever give him a chance. So basically what I did was I took that character, because I didn't really know what to do with Franklin at the time, so we took that character and I just would insert him into certain incidents with Tommy Vercetti, basically trying to be a tag-along, follow behind Tommy Vercetti. And in the beginning, Tommy Vercetti couldn't stand him. He would say, "Get away from me, kid. What do you like? Just go away from me." But for whatever reason, he wouldn't kill him because he looked at him as a kid, you know. But after a while, Franklin there would be things that happened where Franklin would actually come through for Tommy Vercetti and kind of prove his word, to the point where Tommy Vercetti just kind of started letting Franklin hang around. And so he became the little sidekick tag along to Tommy Vercetti that was annoying, but he would deal with him. Kind of like if you've ever watched wrestling again in the Attitude Era of WWF, like the Rock and Sock connection of The Rock and Mankind Mick Foley. How The Rock was the cool, you know what I'm saying, the cool one, and then Mick Foley was the doofus tag along. That's kind of what I did with Franklin. And he would still try to be cool. He called Tommy Vercetti TV, like, yo, TV, man, what we getting at? You know what I'm saying? But then as soon as something pop off, he'd be the first one to run or whatever. But for whatever reason, Tommy Vercetti just kind of kept him around until eventually he just became the tag-along. And honestly, that's Franklin. There's no AI concept for him because I guess Bing, again, don't understand who Franklin is. But we did have him in a couple of the original drawings. You know, I remember one in particular where Mario was like in super form and Goku was in Super Saiyan form, about to go at it with each other. And then you see Franklin in the middle instigating him, basically about to get his ass beat. All right. And that's pretty much Franklin. All right. So without further ado, or without that being said, let's move on to the next character. All right. Let's get it.
Max Payne.
All right, Max Payne. All right. Now, Max Payne obviously is the character that came from the video game Max Payne. All right. However, in our franchise, he was brought along. He was my idea. I wanted to put him in the franchise, and he was brought along to basically be the equal to Tommy Vercetti and be Tommy Vercetti's real right-hand man. See, basically, Tommy Vercetti is kind of the de facto leader of the crew, even though there's not really a real leader. And so, obviously, having Franklin around is okay, but Franklin ain't really a threat. So, after a while, I had it so Tommy Vercetti started recruiting one of his boys or hanging out with one of his boys who happens to be Max Payne. And they're both very similar. Obviously, Max Payne's a little bit more of a depressed alcoholic, but in our franchise, he's a vigilante, gunman, just like Tommy Vercetti. But he was written into the franchise, so there's no drawing of him because there was one picture that Josh drew of Max Payne that he kept, so I never got that one. But he is actually written into a lot of my episodes. And the unique thing I did with Max Payne was, obviously him and Tommy Vercetti are almost even, they're cool. However, Franklin is there. So how I have that dynamic is that Franklin is kind of jealous of Max Payne because he knows Max Payne is more equal to Tommy Vercetti than him. And Max Payne equally really can't stand Franklin. So how I kind of have that thing set up is Max Payne always messes up Franklin's name. He knows his name is Franklin, but he purposely calls him the wrong name, like Frankie, Frankfurt, or something like that, specifically to piss off Franklin. And they go back and forth. And Tommy Vercetti doesn't care, he just lets him do it. But basically, again, his role within the franchise is basically to back up Tommy Vercetti. Those two are boys. They're like equal. They're like Ryu and Ken of Twisted Toons, basically. And that's pretty much it. His personality is he's like Max Payne on the video game. I don't really make him funny or nothing like that, other than antagonizing Franklin, all right? And yeah, man, that's pretty much it. That is the Max Payne character, all right? So without further ado, let's move on to the next character.
Belle.
All right, so Belle. Now Belle, just like Ariel, her purpose served in this crew is she is Max Payne's woman. Now the difference between Ariel and Belle is that Belle, it really is a late addition to the franchise, meaning I just now added her into it. Okay, Josh never actually drew Belle. He drew Beast, but he never drew Belle. But I know that he could. And I don't know, she's just somebody I would have wanted to put in the franchise if we had ever got around to that. So what I did was inserted her into where I probably would have put her if we originally wrote her, and that is as Max Payne's woman. Basically, she's Max Payne's ride or die. And, you know, obviously her and Ariel are pretty much friends because of that reason. And she holds Max Payne down. You know, I've made Belle basically the woman that came along when Max Payne's wife died, because I believe she died on a video game, you know. Her and Beast had they fallen out or whatever. They found each other, became a thing, and then they befriended Tommy Vercetti and Ariel. And so that's the deal with them. And basically she's just as tough as Max Payne. If you fuck with him, you fuck with her. Alright? And she's a hood girl too, just like Ariel, alright? And for the most part, that's it. Like I said, there's nothing written for Belle because I never wrote her on the franchise initially, but she would have been, alright? And that's going to be the case with certain characters that you see me talking about throughout this thing. Because not all of them were originally on the franchise, but they were either thought to be, or they were ideas, or there's somebody I would have put on there. So that's why you see me talking about them now, alright? So now with that being said, let's move on to the next character, alright?
CJ.
Alright, CJ, Carl Johnson, CJ, from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Now, I think it's pretty obvious why I would put him in the GTA crew, right? You got Tommy Vercetti, Max Payne, not necessarily a part of that, but I mean, kind of, sort of. So why not put the most legendary Grand Theft Auto character as a part of the crew, CJ? The guy a lot of people say I look like, alright? Now, CJ is a late add-on. I'm going to tell you right off the bat. He was never a part of our original franchise because by the time Grand Theft Auto San Andreas came out, we were out of high school or about to graduate, one of the two. But me and Josh had lost contact by then. So there was no more Twisted Toons being written at that time. But if we were, I would have damn sure put CJ as a part of our franchise. So that's why he's a part of it now. And basically, I would have put him with the group that we're including him in. And he would have been an even bigger antagonist to Franklin than Max Payne was. But he also would have been the ruthless outlaw of the crew that didn't give a fuck. Like O-Dog, you know, he would have been like that. if he were written on the originally. So that's why I kind of included him in that crew. There's nothing written for him originally because, like I said, he didn't exist when we were doing this, okay? And that's pretty much CJ's role. He's the one, if Tommy Vercetti really need to just take a motherfucker out, he'll bring in CJ straight up. Take y'all OG style, all right? That's pretty much all I got to say about the character. I wouldn't change nothing about his personality. He would be exactly who he is on Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Just a part of our universe, all right? And so that's it pretty much. And without further ado, let's move on to the final character that's part of the GTA crew, all right?
Cinderella.
All right, Cinderella. Again, you see it's like 3 Disney princesses involved in this thing, and that's because, why not, all right? Now, Cinderella is, just like CJ, a late add-on because she is not originally written into the original franchise. However, I just decided to add her. And her role, like the other two, is she's CJ's woman. She's his ride or die. And I specifically wanted to put her with him because they're so opposite. Like, this dude is a gangster from the West Coast, and she's Cinderella. Who would have thought they would be together? And that's why I did that. Because originally, I had CJ and I would have hooked him up with Storm from X-Men. I would have put Storm in it and had CJ with her. But I was like, that kind of... I could see that. I wanted to do something different. So I was like, man, let me put him with a Disney princess. Which one haven't I used yet? Oh, there you go, Cinderella. So that's how I came up with that. And basically, she would be a hood version of herself. And she'd be his ride or die, his woman. And, she would be, like, I would have her smitten with CJ. Like, he could do no wrong in her eyes, even when he was wrong. And that's pretty much it. And that's the only reason she would be a part of that crew. They would be the women of the GTA crew. And she would be annoyed with Franklin, just like the other 3 women, or 2 women. And, that's pretty much it. There's not much to say about that character because, again, there's not much written for her. I never wrote for her. Sorry. And that's it. Like I said, there's not going to be too much emphasis put on these next couple of groups because they're not really like factions for the franchise. But what I'm trying to do here, this is my way of introducing each and every character that we put on the franchise and what their purpose is and what their personalities might be. So that's why I'm doing it like this. So I hope you guys enjoy this stuff, even though I ramble sometimes, all right? So if you enjoy it, please hit that like button, leave your comments down below, subscribe. I'll be back when I can with another one of these. And like I always say, don't ever hesitate to dive into it with D, all right?